Hey, welcome Tree Nation. Welcome to another video with Kurt the Arborist. Check out that pile right there. See that pile? That pile is all the debris she's already taken off this tree here, of this rescue prune, I'm calling it. Notice right away all those stubs. She took off a lot of branches, just not knowing any better, and just kind of lopped them off at any random location. And pretty much anything connected to it. It's like literally just a long stub sticking out of the main stems of the tree. Brought my pole pruner back, and beauty little daisy chain there. Who's got to look fancy, right? Anyways, you don't want to leave these stubs on these trees because they're just a route for infection and decay on the tree. Especially having no other branches and no foliage on there, they're serving no purpose really. So it's good to bring them back and cut them right up to the next stem. In this case, I'm just using the pole pruner to get a little bit higher than I could reach, obviously. Always cut with your pole pruners with the blade, the part that moves, towards the tree, and the anvil, which is that hook there, away from the tree or distal from the trunk. There's a big stub right there. See, there's all sorts of already cut off stubs on that stub. Those are all water sprouts that had been growing out of that stub. And notice where I'm cutting there, that's where you want to cut back to. Not right flush up against the leader or the trunk of the tree, but just a little bit out where the main trunk will start to swell around the branch, called the branch collar. You want to find the ridge, so you're cutting only into branch wood and not at all into any kind of trunk wood. There's a big water sprout. So that one's been growing for a little while. Notice how they look different. They're kind of shiny. They grow straight up. In this case, she cut the water sprout as well, so we're just taking that right out. But the tree grows those because it wants to send out more foliage as fast as it can, so it can get energy to try and heal itself for whatever's stressing it out. Oftentimes, when homeowners or whomever makes an incorrect cut and leaves a stub, that branch itself will kind of freak out and send out these water sprouts. So here I've just switched to a smaller saw so I can get in there with a finer cut. So you don't necessarily want to cut all of them off. You kind of have to look at the reason why they're there. The tree can be stressed out for, a ton of different reasons, and just may need more leaves. Or it thinks it needs more leaves to seal up wounds. If you over prune a tree, like take off more than 25-30% in a year, it can send out some sprouts. Poor cuts, I'm sure not enough nutrition and things like that for the tree would cause sprouts. I think some species just grow them more than others, but correct me if I'm wrong. I guess I should give you my disclaimer. I'm not like an expert arborist or anything, but I mean I work alone, and I've been doing it for about one solid season here, and doing a lot of training and doing the best I can, and I share a lot of stuff online and media, so by sending out this video I can connect with other arborists and get their feedback as well. So if you have any tips, always appreciate it. Hit me up online if you want. Best place to meet me or reach out to me is on Instagram at Kurt the Arborist. I do a lot of photos and stuff on there too. If you watched my last video, you'll probably hear some repeating information here, but another big stub with a water sprout. So it looks like I'm just taking the tip off that one and going back to the next branch that's coming off of it. So again, you don't want to cut too close, leave it flush, just leave a tiny bit out so that can seal over. And I left it because there was some live growth on there. And in this case, that big pile that lady left at the front that we were talking about, she'd already cut off kind of approximately 30% of the tree. So I'm just there correcting her stubs and leaving what there is left to get any sun and try and seal up all these new wounds. The tree will have a lot better chance though with some proper cuts on it. But hopefully it doesn't send out too many more water sprouts. See, they're just all over, trees littered with it. So in this case, instead of cutting out all those shoots or water sprouts or suckers, whatever you call them, I'm choosing to leave a bunch of them. Because like I said, there's a reason they're there, and the tree's stressed and needs more leaves. So anything that was live in this case, I'm leaving it, and then suggested, coming back in 3 years, check the tree again, and maybe be selective about some branches to keep then if the tree's doing well. I just got the hand pruners here. I think I'm just cleaning up some really minor stuff on some branches. Just climbed up into the canopy there. Get a little closer. I like being in the tree. It's easier, but it's just nice to be kind of central around everything, and you can see it a little differently than you can from on the ground. So I do a little both, a little in the tree, a little on the outside, but being able to get your hands right on the cut with a handsaw or secateurs, I find always does a better job than a pole pruner or something. I just can't cut as close as I would like to all the time. Super windy that day. Almost had to rope up there. It was so windy. Just looking around. Some more stuff. She asked about one of her branches there, if you can see in the far left, growing over the fence way out to the neighbor's yard. She was thinking about cutting that out, but that's one of the few stems of this tree that's left with leaves on it. It's still growing good, so I suggested we leave that and she can talk to her neighbors, and I'm sure they won't mind. Their backyard doesn't look like it's too well kept, and that they really want the branch out of their way. I don't think they'll care, but who knows. Anyways, it's up to her. She can talk to them and then refer them to me if they want to chat about it further as to why I left it there. But of course, I think being a neighbor, if you want the tree out of your yard, you can cut things out on the property line. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the general rule. But neighbors are usually pretty good with each other. Another big one I'm cutting out here. Jeez. Yeah, it was already cut right off on the end. So no point in leaving that there. It's just going to die, and like I said, fungus or whatever could come in through the end, and it's just harder for the tree to compartmentalize around that infection or that dying, and it'll seep farther into the trunk wood rather than you cut it off here. And I see I relieve the weight on that one piece first with the 3-point cut. Now I'm coming back and finishing off the cut. That would be a stub cut if I left that right there, but now you can see left it out a little bit. Still in the branch wood, but nice and close to the tree. Now hopefully it will develop that little donut you can kind of see when it grows over and seals over that wound. Of course, there's going to be minor amounts of decay that will still go into the tree, but the tree will compartmentalize around it a lot easier in this case than it would if it was just left hanging out there with a poor cut. So it's a natural process. I mean, trees are natural. They've been growing by themselves for a long time, so they break branches. Animals break branches. They seal over. But just want to give them the best chance possible, especially in this municipal areas where trees kind of grow a little crazier than they would out in the wild. One tree sitting there in the yard tends to spread out and spread its limbs way out to try and find sun, to get more energy, to grow more. And that's not always the natural or best case for the tree if it's growing big, long, heavy branches way out from its main stems. See how it tore there? It's like I did a cut out from the tree. I don't know if I did a 3-point cut there, if I just did the one cut to show the peel. I was talking to her, but did it far enough away from the tree to show how it would peel down. And that's why you do that undercut first, so it won't ever peel back into the tree. So you do your undercut, and you come out from that undercut and do a cut on the top that's distal from that undercut, farther away from the tree, so that when it breaks off, it peels and it stops at the undercut. and then when weight is relieved, then you come in and finish it off right along that branch collar ridge. You can see all these little cuts I'm doing here now. I'm just cleaning up where they were close, but they could have been closer and cleaner to the tree. And as I mentioned in my last video, Arboriculture Canada has a great pruning course that they do. It's a one-day course, and their slogan is, "When in doubt, leave it out." So if you don't know exactly where that branch collar ridge is, I'm talking about where you cut close to the stem or main trunk of the tree, but you leave it a little bit out. If you don't know exactly where that is, err on the side of caution and cut a little bit out. It's worse to be flush cutting the tree than it is to be leaving a small stub. If you cut flush, you're cutting into that different direction of wood that's part of the trunk, and it's just a mess. It's way more. So here I'm looking at a little blackened kind of oozy piece in the trunk. I believe I took a picture of this and then brought it home, which reminds me I should go look into that. I'm trying to learn a lot more about tree disease and things. There's some dead wood sitting on the outside. It looks like a branch had maybe broken off there at one point. Yeah, but I'll look into it and see what it is. Oftentimes some blackening and oozing is a sign of fungal infection, or maybe it's, you know, developing a canker or something. Again, I'm new to that kind of thing, so if anyone has any feedback too, I always appreciate that. Hearing from you, or the resources you use. So anyways, as I go along with these tree jobs, see something I don't know, take a picture and use my resources as best I can, look it up, try and figure it out, and then I can offer suggestions to the homeowner afterwards through email or phone call or something. Stub up there still looks like on the left. Hopefully I grab that. It's nice sometimes, the homeowners, if they're interested, that when they're out, I'll kind of just guide them through what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, and how to make those cuts. So especially with her, I mean, she didn't know, and she's good about it. You know, don't give them crap or anything, but offer to give them some suggestions if they're open to it, and she was. So kind of explain exactly what I was already talking about, how to make those cuts. So at least a 3-point cut, so they don't peel their branch into their tree, and just not to leave stubs. I mean, they can Google it after that if they want. Of course, a lot of people just appreciate the fact that you know what you're doing and they trust you then. And a lot of them aren't going to remember and don't want to bother putting the work in anyways to do that. So they've called you for a reason. They'll probably call you back again if they like your work and they know you know what you're doing. In this case, no 3-point cut required because I can hold the weight of the branch with my other hand. That one there is a little bit too long. I think I'm just finishing up here. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hit me up with some comments. Look me up on Instagram. Peace out.